Nigeria. A former protectorate under the British government accepts a pension tradition into her public sector that is absolutely modelled after the British structure. The commencement of pension scheme dates back to 1946, when the colonial government in the country, through the Chief Secretary to the government in a circular number 19, 1945, of the 24th of March 1945, announced a superannuating, that's a pension scheme for African staff employed by government. The appropriate legal enactment that brought the scheme into being was the Pensions Ordinance of 1951, but which took retroactive effect from 1946. Some of the corporations that benefited from the pension scheme include Railway Corporation, National Electricity Commission, now being privatized, and the Nigerian Ports Authority. The National Provident Fund, NPF, was the first formal pension scheme in Nigeria, established in 1961 for the non-pensionable private sector employees. In 1979, the federal government of Nigeria introduces the first Pension Reform Act of 102. The act is to consolidate all enactment on pensions and gratuity scales devised for public officers. In 1993, the Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund, NSITF, was established to take over the NPF scheme and provide enhanced pension scheme to private sector employees. The Pensions Act 103 of 1979 consolidated all enactment dealing with pension, disability benefits, and gratitude scales devised for the armed forces, public service organizations established by decree in the federal, and edict in the state-operated pension schemes similar to what obtains in the civil service. An executive bill, the Pension Reform Bill, was submitted to the National Assembly on September 2003. The bill aimed to repeal all existing pension schemes, including the Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund, and replace it with a contributory and privately managed pension scheme. The Senate, on the 23rd of March 2004, passed the Pension Reform Bill, and the President signed it into law on the 25th of June 2004. The implementation of the Act began on the 1st of July 2004. The Act has brought about fundamental changes to the structure of leaving service benefits and the way they are provided for. The Act in Section 1 establishes a contributory pension scheme for any employment in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The scheme ensures that every worker, public or private, receives his retirement benefits as at when due, assist improvident individuals save for their old age, and establish a uniform set of rules for administration and payment of retirement benefits. The major players in the new pension reform scheme are Pension Fund Administrators, PFAs, Pension Fund Custodians, PFCs, and Closed Pension Funds Administration, CPFAs. Experts reveal that some of the challenges in the new pension scheme are a large proportion of the population remains inadequately covered by the contributory scheme. Another challenge is the mismanagement and misappropriation of amounts earmarked for employees' pensions, especially in the public sector. In Nigeria, there are different pension plans available. There are retiring pension, compensatory pension, superannuating pension, compassionate allowance, and gratuity.
Exists indeed a greater pension fraud dimension that could equally be of interest over and above the issue of reinstatement.
Recently, there have been revelations of multi-billion naira pension fund scandals at the pensions unit of the Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation and the Nigeria Police Pensions.
There exists indeed a greater pension fraud dimension that could equally be of interest over and above the issue of reinstatement. So what I'm saying is, in as much as the issue of appearance, disappearance, and reinstatement of minor could be of interest, but the greater picture of interest has to do with pension fraud. The fact remains clear that there exists a pension fund fraud syndicate in Nigeria. The syndicate includes highly placed retired and current political office holders and retired serving senior civil servants, inclusive of legislators. So, in essence, pension fraud was perpetrated by public officials to siphon colossal amounts in conjunction with and with the active connivance of the Nigerian Union of Pensioners, Director of Pension Accounts, State Pension Boards, and the Association of Federal Public Service Retirees, among others. So proceeds of the fraud are usually shared among the members of the syndicate. Mr. Maina has been part of the syndicate that I have to admit arising from the investigation at our disposal, but things fell apart between him and the syndicate, and he allegedly left the shores of Nigeria of an alleged threat to his life.
The scheme also entails the transfer of investment risks of retirement funds to the employees. The reform also failed to contribute to basic social security in old age for the majority of Nigerians employed in the informal sector.
Pensioners, it is said, hereby call on state government to expeditiously set up an administrative committee to look into the harmonization of pensions for all categories of pensioners in the state.
Reports claim that pension debts in the public sector amount in part because of the failure of some state governments to provide their counterpart funds necessary to make up the amount provided by the federal government. In situations where the affected pensioners worked for both federal and state governments.
Right now, the challenge is supply. The money is available, but supply of those assets and infrastructure transactions that qualify for this fund to be deployed is still very, very scarce in the market. And that is why a larger percentage of investment, pension asset is still going to treasury bill, and that is a challenge and crowding out other sources of investment. And like I said, currently it's only about 20 states in Nigeria that have passed the pension contributory pension scheme. So if you see that we still have about 16 states to go to pass. And even some of them that have passed have not even started implementing or contributing. We have about 7, I don't know whether it's 7 or 6 million contributors out of about 45 million Nigerians that are working. So a lot of work needs to be done such that we can encourage voluntary contribution and also inclusiveness.
In Osun State, southwest Nigeria, a group of pensioners took to the streets in Osogbo, the Osun State capital, to protest the non-payment of their 13.5 months pension arrears and gratuity for 2008 to 2012 retirees. The group are seen with various placards and chanting solidarity songs.